All right, Big Man, today is Thursday. It is March 30th. Welcome to the Dog Walk presented by Barstool Sports. It's myself, it's Robbie Fox, it's Rico on Zoom, and we are going to do a never-before-seen classic watch, not a rewatch, first-time watch on a movie that is widely considered. Does it get greatest movie of all time, love? Did you guys see that anywhere?
I don't know about greatest,
It's
but it
up
definitely
there.
gets in the lists. Yeah, it's in the top 25, top 50 lists for sure.
Exactly. So that's what we're doing today. We're going to chop it up for probably about a half hour about Taxi Driver with Robert De Niro, directed by Martin Scorsese. Guys, thanks for doing this. I'm excited to do this. This might be a new segment. I'm trying this out, so thank you.
Thanks for having us. I'm excited. I watched Taxi Driver last night. As you said, you texted me and said, "Is there any classic movies you haven't seen?" I assume you did the same for Rico. And Taxi Driver was one of the first that came to mind for me. So I threw that out there. We watched it. I have seen Joker, which is like seeing a cover band before you see the real band. It's very similar, almost a ripoff, but Taxi Driver was still an enjoyable watching experience. I'm glad I could check it off the bucket list.
Yeah, that's kind of what
Yeah.
I like doing that, right? Because I've been sitting here and it's always like, hey, have you ever seen this? And everyone's like, you haven't seen that. So that's what we're hopefully doing. Hopefully a lot of the listeners watch it because I've been teasing it out since Monday's draft, the rewatchable draft. So that's kind of the goal with this. Rico, what are
My
your...
brother, yeah, my brother had an idea, something like this too, like first time, or I think you'd like this, like basically doing a home and home. Like I suggest something to Robbie, and then we talk about it, and he brings something back, and then that's your two-parter episode. So I think it's definitely it could be interesting. Truth be told, I didn't watch the movie, so I'm just kind of gonna fill some time with the Mets. If you guys want to talk about that, opening day
You didn't
tomorrow.
watch the
Are we
movie?
cool with that?
No, he watched it.
Eddie laughed, went right over Robbie's head. No, I watched it, Robbie. We're good.
Went over my head.
Yeah.
I watched it last night as well, Robbie. What were your perceptions going in, Rico? What did you know about it? What did you think you were getting into? All of that.
I knew it was a classic. I knew it was one of those you're supposed to watch. I think as I watched it, I knew some of their like quotable lines, like "You talking to me?" I remember obviously the mullet cut in the poster, but other than that, it was like, "Do you know what this movie is about?" And I was like, "No, not at all." So like nothing, like a little bit of it, but nothing. I really knew nothing about it.
Robbie?
So, like I said, I saw Joker, and when that came out, all the talk was like, "Oh my God, Todd Phillips made a Taxi Driver, a Joker movie." So I knew that it would be similar in tone to that, like a mysterious, lonely, kind of creepy vibe the whole time. I also knew that this is one of those movies like American Psycho or Wolf of Wall Street, where I think like college kids idolize the main character too much, and that's not the intent.
Yeah, yeah. No, I could definitely see that. Obviously, it's a little past dated that because I don't think people do that anymore since it's so old at this point. It came out in 1976. But I agree. I knew the "You Talking to Me" scene. However, seeing that scene that we all have seen forever, there's a lot of scenes. I never thought that he was a fucking weirdo because let's call a spade a spade. Robert De Niro is a big giant weirdo, is he not?
I mean, that's an understatement, Eddie. This guy is incel territory. This guy is a pervert. This guy is the strangest, loneliest man of all time. And you could see also like how many movies were inspired by this, specifically the Travis Bickle character, like the Nightcrawlers of the world and all of those movies. The horrible movie they made with Jared Leto about the Mark David Chapman, horrendous movie, but they were trying to be Taxi Driver the whole time, show that isolation and loneliness, like breaking someone's brain. So yeah, you could see that.
Yeah, that's for sure.
So, Eddie, like which way do you want to go here? Like you could kind of steer the ship, but off of what Robbie was saying, and I do give it credit. Like now you kind of see the first one, and I didn't even realize it was the Joker was very very similar. But what kind of the big thing to me was that one, it wasn't really about anything, which I'm gonna knock. I guess it was about everything, and it's a stance on like how he got fucked up, and I'm sure there was some undertones of that. Like if Scorsese was trying to make a move towards post-traumatic stress and all those things, which I don't know if he was, but either way, they did an interesting job of like not showing you really anything of why he was like that. like nothing. So his own thoughts, just like the creeps and the weirdos and the scum, like when he's driving. But he doesn't show a flashback to Vietnam. He doesn't show a flashback to the Marines. He doesn't show a flashback to his dad. He doesn't show a flashback to a woman, like kind of like blowing him off. Like there's nothing to the guy is just fucked up, but they don't give you any clarity to why he's fucked up, which made it me like a weird watch. I wouldn't consider it a watch. Like I'm happy you said to cross off the bucket list, but nothing about it really made it like rewatchable. And that's not, but it's like it was just an interesting choice in development that they didn't really give you anything to this. It's just like this is what this guy is, but we're not going to tell you why.
All right, Rico, you're choppy, but I made out everything you said. Did you make out
You
everything
lose
you
me?
said, Robbie? So,
Yeah.
I made out everything you said
Yeah.
too. Good point. I think that's a very good point. And I think that's what might make the movie better, right, Robbie? It didn't spell it out for you because I didn't fully find out that he was a big weirdo until he started basically stalking the woman at the campaign office, right?
And then he takes her on the date to the porno theater, and the whole time, like walking in, when he's like, no, it's not that kind of movie. People go see this all the time. You're just like cringing, like, oh my God, dude, are you really about to fucking take this girl in right now? Like, no way. Storms out immediately. Like that, it was crazy. Like, just he's doing things that a rational human would never do in a million years. And like Rico said, they don't show any flashbacks, and there's only 2 scenes in the whole movie that aren't like directly focused on him. There's a couple with Jodie Foster and the pimp, I think.
Yeah, and
So-
to that point
and-
too. Sorry, you go, Rico.
All right, hand up, embarrassing confession. The first girl, Sybil Shepherd, I obviously know that name. When I read the poster that it was Jodie Foster, I thought that was Jodie Foster.
Oh yeah.
And so I'm like, that does not look like Jodie Foster. That does not look like Jodie Foster. And then Jodie Foster shows up, and I went, oh, all right, sorry. Like I'm the whole, because they do a good job of burying Jodie Foster, which we'll get to. That's a whole other fucking thing. She's actually 12 in the movie, but the whole time I'm like, that doesn't look like Jodie Foster. I was sitting there like an idiot.
Yeah, no, fair. Very fair. But I was going to say too, Robbie, because, and some people might call me a moron, be like, what do you mean you only realized he was a creep then? Because he went to a porno theater before that scene when he was stalking the political girl. But to me, that's just Manhattan / Times Square at that time, from what I understand. It was super seedy. There was a lot of porno theaters, a lot of prostitution, and just strange characters hanging out in Times Square, which I thought was one of the coolest parts of the film in my eyes, because I've always heard about that aspect of Times Square. That was the first time I really felt it in a movie. I don't know if you guys feel the same, especially you guys being both from the area.
Rico, do you want to go?
Yeah, I had to like heard about that. Times Square was super seedy. It's not what it is now. Like it's not lights and glamour. It was bad. New York City was bad. Even Giuliani's main thing, like Sandler jokes about it in I think it was the 9/11 concert. He did Opera Man. He's like, Giuliani got the hookers off the street. Like that, just knowing a little bit about stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing the city was one of the coolest parts for me in general, because they filmed all of this in New York legitimately. And at the time, I read there was a garbage strike, so the city looked extra dirty because there was real garbage all over the streets.
Oh, no shit. That's a fun
Yeah.
fact. It also made me realize that I want the Once Upon a Time in Hollywood version of Times Square at that point.
Yes. The
Right.
New York version instead of California.
Yes, where like,
That would be awesome.
Tarantino went back and he showed what Hollywood looked like in the golden age like that. A really good director needs a great depiction of what exactly it looked like back then, now in the, mid 2020s or whatever. I think that would be really interesting.
That would be awesome. I'm down for that.
Yeah. Besides that, so I think when do you think he, because I had noticed a specific point. I think it was maybe clear, but maybe other people have different opinions. When do you think he necessarily broke bad, so to speak? Rico, was there a moment there where you're like, this is when it all changed for him?
I don't know, because it was I didn't see the ending coming, obviously, and you kind of saw like, again, he's stalking her and but like I don't know. I didn't think it was going to end that way, and I don't really know when he broke. I'm trying to think.
Is it when the girl breaks up with him? When Betsy is her name? I think.
Nah, I think it was just seeing like maybe just driving around the city. Like it just added up. I don't know if it was one moment. I do think he was eventually going to lose his mind, but it just kind of added up. Like he kept saying, if he's alone in his thoughts, like I see the scum and I see this, and yeah, the girl breaks up with him, and then he sees Jodie Foster walking the streets, and the guy treats her like shit. To get her, like when he goes to, you know what? I think that's what it was. When he goes and sees what it is, and she's like just unbuttoning his pants and like it's just a used animal. I think that's when it is. If I had to put a finger on it, that's probably when I think he broke. Because if you notice, right after that's when he starts packing the guns and doing this, and so it's crazy.
That's it. You hit the nail on the head in my eyes. It was the second time he sees Jodie Foster. Not the first time when she gets into the cab. It's the second time he sees her, and it almost reminds him, and it like sends him over the edge, it felt like. Because you're right, that's when he finally took him up on the offer, grabbed all those guns, made that weird contraption under his sleeve, and then he just went full, flipped the switch, ready to make an assassination. But that was like the big thing that felt like it was, which makes sense that the movie ends it the way it did because he clearly cared about, I don't even know if he cared about her. I think that's just the one thing in society that really, I don't know, maybe put him. But then again, he did shoot the guy. Yeah, he did shoot the guy in the convenience store too. So maybe it's the only thing that crossed his face directly. I don't know.
Yeah, that like just the way they like disposed of things so quick. You know what I mean? Like he shoots that guy, and then they like the guy.
Get out of here! I'll handle it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it was really uncomfortable type of watch, and the whole thing with like the CIA when he's stalking that guy, and then is he going to commit like a mass murder at the political thing, and then he does commit a triple thing was fucking nuts. Like it was very really. That's the way I would describe this movie. Is like good, but like uncomfortable the whole time. I was just kind of like.
I agree. It gives you almost like Uncut Gems, gives you like an uncomfortable, anxious feeling when you watch it. It's the same anxious feeling like Rico's talking about when he's there about to shoot the presidential candidate. Like I didn't breathe during those scenes. It was like, oh my God, worried for every single person around him. He's got all the guns, loaded up. I'm like, is he about to go kill everyone? There also wasn't a moment in this movie where I was bored. And that's pretty impressive when you have a movie that, like Rico said, also not a lot happens in this movie. It's just like the psychological breakdown of them, not about much other than that. But I was never finding myself like looking at my wristwatch and being like my brick wristwatch, being like, oh, I want this movie to end. Like the whole time I was there for it, just like what the fuck is going to happen next?
Now, do we know why he was going to go after the political guy as well, Eddie? Like, so that guy when he was in
because the girl like. It doesn't work out with her, so he's like, fuck this guy. I don't know.
But the guy said he says he's all in on his thoughts.
And I don't think the guy disrespected him when he hopped into his cab either. It seemed like a normal ride to me.
Yeah. Also, did you guys know De Niro legit took up being a cab driver for like a month leading up to this movie?
No, I did not.
15-hour days doing shifts as a cab driver. And this is right after he did Godfather 2. So people are like recognizing him left and right. He also signed up. I read the whole IMDb trivia for this right before we did this. I love doing that.
Good.
He signed this movie for like 30 grand or something really low. And then The Godfather 2 came out. He went and won an Oscar for that movie and then still stuck to his original contract for this one. It's like, nah, still pay me the 30 grand I signed for it.
Makes sense, dude. I think I saw too. A lot of people took a pay cut to make it. So, I mean, it only had $1.9 million budget. It made 28.6, so definitely. I don't know inflation and shit. The movie's almost 50 years old, so I don't know how cheap that was necessarily at the time. But, anyways, I will say too, there was something so jarring where like I like talking about when we thought the like he flipped the switch, but then really where I don't know. Can you say when the first scene you see him with the mohawk? That's when it's like, oh, fuck, shit's going down. And was the political scene, don't get me wrong, so there's a lot going on at the time. But still, they could have put him with the mohawk and they could have showed him in a shot just driving his cab. And I still feel like it would have hit like, oh, dude, he's officially off the deep end.
Yeah, I was waiting for that the whole movie. Were you guys like knowing he has a mohawk? I was like, all right, when's he getting the fucking mohawk? When
I
are we getting
forgot.
Yeah.
this?
I forgot.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I forgot that he had it.
I have an uncle that loves this movie, and he was Travis Bickle for Halloween one year, and he did the whole committed, shaved his head, mohawk style, and he even made himself the wrist thing that like shoots out.
Oh no shit. That's
Oh yeah,
crazy. That's
he's a
awesome.
serious uncle. Yeah,
I love that. That's awesome. I will say too, you bring up The Godfather, and so that was 2 years before Godfather 2?
yeah. There were 2 years after Godfather 2.
2 years. So this came out in 76. Godfather 2 came out in 74.
Yep.
Was very cool to see De Niro, young De Niro, I should say. We all know old De Niro. We're mid 30s. Robbie's mid 20s now, I think.
24, that counts.
24.
Right?
Yeah,
Mid-20s.
yeah. You're about
Yeah.
mid 20s. We all know old De Niro, and if we know young De Niro, I knew him from, obviously Godfather 2, Goodfellas. I mean, is a 90s, so he's still youngish, but.
Raging Bull. You a Raging Bull guy?
That's one of these I might have to put on the list because I've never seen Raging
Okay.
Bull either.
I gotta put that on too. Yeah, I haven't seen that.
Yeah,
That's it.
but it was cool. It was like a totally different cadence he had, and it was a very different look at De Niro, I thought.
I mean, it was the most disturbing look at De Niro, which was like, how am I ever going to watch Meet the Fockers again? But yeah, it was a crazy, it was a crazy look at De Niro.
Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely was, and he carried the. He was in every scene, obviously, like every scene. What was weird is that they did a good job. I don't know if I was ever on his side because he made me uncomfortable, but they did a decent job when like I could like so the Joker part, he has no social life. With this, he's going to the diner with his buddies every time, and they know like they're in on it. They're okay. There was never any. Now they might be fucking whack jobs too, but like, the girl agrees to go on a date with him. He's charming enough. I felt like they did a good job of like luring you in, and then he would like pull the wool over your eyes and fool you again, and like it was a weird balance. It was a really
It is.
it was just weird and obscure is the best way to describe it.
It rides the line the whole movie. That's like a great way to put it. And then even by the end, like he redeems himself, but you're not like, yeah, you're not cheering him on, but you're just like,
No.
my God, what the fuck are we watching? My jaw was on the floor, the whole like shootout.
Yeah.
So what do you think about that?
So this was my one thing about the movie. I didn't love the ending. And obviously, like spoilers, if people haven't seen it, right? Like spoilers. I didn't like that he lived. I liked when they do the long fade out after he does the gun thing to his head and leans back. They do the long fade out. I was totally expecting credits to hit because they pan out for 5 minutes. And then he survives. He's fine. He picks up Betsy in the cab, and that's the ending. I would have liked the movie a lot more, I think, if it faded to black with him dying in that shootout.
See, I think I disagree with you, Robbie, because I think this was a cool dynamic of the movie where he's a hero now, according to the public, according to the press. But do you believe that man's rehabilitated? Do you believe he's a stable mentally guy? No. So that's why it's a weird conundrum in this guy's world, or in the actual world of New York City, the world of, fucking the United States of America, that this guy is considered the man, and then now he is out there on the loose, and he's going to do something like that again, rightful or not, but I would bet he's going to do something like that. It's kind of like, did you see that Kai, the hatchet-wielding hitchhiker doc on Netflix?
Oh, I did watch that. That was wild.
He's kind of like him, Robbie, in a sense.
That's a decent point, Ed. You're turning me real quick with that description of the ending. I do like the ominous, he's always out there. That's pretty good. All right.
And
Fair enough.
Even just talking through this movie right now with you guys, I'm kind of enjoying it even more, just talking
Agreed.
about it. So
There's a lot of meat on the bone on this one. There's a lot to go through, and it's like even the scene. I read that Scorsese said the most important scene in the movie to him, the most important shot, is when he's on the phone, on the payphone, and the camera just pans away onto an empty hallway and just like shows an empty hallway for the rest of the conversation. He said that was supposed to show how uncomfortable those conversations with Travis Bickle are, that you literally can't stand to be in the room for them, that you need to like look away.
ooh,
I like that too. Like reading that, I was like, oh shit. In the moment, I was like, why are we cutting away from him?
Yeah.
Now I'm like, oh, Scorsese, he's a smart guy.
yeah, no.
So do you think he lived? Do you think he lives? Because on the Wikipedia, there's a controversy, or there's debating if he lived or not.
I could see a debate. Like it's too perfect for her to get in his cab. Like, is that like his heaven or something in the end? I thought he lived, but there was definitely part of me that was like, is this some kind of fantasy dreamland?
Because then all of a sudden the girl comes back. Like, is that in his own thoughts? Like, it's nobody knows, you know. And then even those are like to think too. Like, he committed a murder, and if they so like all those articles that say like Bickle saves guy saves the girl. What you remember those articles?
Yeah.
Yep.
The clippings. Do we think that they're allowing that to be written for a guy that the CIA was potentially going to go after 2 days before? Like, they have him on a watch list. They watched him get chased away. That girl, the political girl, would have been like, yeah, he's like a little weird, like, you know, his cab driver guys. Are they asking people around him? Like, he never got into any kind of fray with anybody. That they're just celebrating him for a hero. I think that's in his own head. It was an interesting debate.
It's a good point.
It is an interesting debate.
That's a good point. Rico,
I lean on the side of yes, alive, but like 70-30, like 30 being like maybe he's not.
yeah, like you're taking the ending for what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Rico, what do you think? Are you more on the side of Robbie where you didn't like the ending, or did you like the ending? Where are you at on that?
I didn't like it in the sense that like I wasn't, you know, and then Harvey Keitel gets shot and comes back. It was very much like a Tom Cruise Schwarzenegger thing or Rambo, where like yeah, like Sly Stallone kills 97 people in First Blood. It's like okay, like he's blowing up choppers with his bare hands. Like it was a little bit of that, like uncomfortable.
He did get shot in the neck and he kept going. Like that did not really hinder him.
Yeah, like it was a fucking
Yeah.
pinch to the shoulder.
Yeah.
So like I guess I didn't like it in the sense of just it made me like want to take a shower after watching it. But like that's what this, you know, what we kind of knew the whole way. So like I guess Scorsese was honest in the layout. Like he was like, yeah, this guy's a fucking nutbag. Like, you know, he writes everything down. That's another ripoff of the Joker too with the journals and stuff. I didn't even realize.
Oh my God. There's so many moments in Joker where I was like, holy shit. Like now I want to watch King of Comedy, another De Niro Scorsese movie I haven't seen because apparently Joker's just a mix of those two.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Really?
I also read, I thought this was a fun fact on IMDb. As Rico mentioned, Jodie Foster was actually 12 years old during the filming of this movie.
Yep.
So any of the sexually explicit scenes she could not do. Her older sister was 19 years old and she stepped in as a body double for all of those scenes.
No shit.
Well, she didn't do anything necessarily.
Not she doesn't show anything, but there's like I think the scene where she's like unzipping his pants and stuff.
Okay.
I think her older sister had to step in.
So then I saw this too. I think Scorsese was so uncomfortable in casting her that De Niro had to direct those scenes.
Oh, I read that De Niro and her would like rehearse the scenes like incessantly beforehand, and like they would rehearse and rehearse and rehearse.
It was like he was like her mentor.
Yeah.
He did say she was a mentor. It was on the Wikipedia page. They were to put her in like therapy and shit.
Yeah, it says
Or
right
like
here, before
post-traumatic
being given the part, Foster was subjected to psychological testing, attending sessions with a UCLA psychiatrist to ensure that she would not be emotionally scarred by her role.
Yeah,
wow.
And he was like all in on. I think she got an Oscar nom for this, which is crazy because she's in 4 scenes, you know. But like, just it was crazy. And again, she was actually 12, like the whole time.
Yeah.
Like, no fucking way. When they say that, and he, you know, but again, it's back to like the balance of De Niro, right? He's willing to mass murder a political campaign. He's stalking kind of the prostitute and the political girl. But he knows enough to go, you're 12, you can't do this. Like it's crazy. And again, he could go out to dinner with his buddies. Like it was really just a bizarre kind of twist into a character. But yeah,
it makes you feel uncomfortable. I think that's like almost what he was going for, of like, look at what isolation and loneliness could do to a guy with potentially PTSD and all that.
Yeah, you're right.
Foster stuff was interesting too, though. The fact they actually cast her at 12, like that whole thing was crazy.
You're right, because in a sense, you're rooting for a guy who's busting up a prostitution ring. He's helping a 12-year-old girl out, which is good, right? Like,
Oh yeah.
And then the other guy, the guy who was in an armed robbery, he helped that guy out. And then, but then at the same time, he's still the fucking guy who was going to assassinate someone for no reason. And he was still super, super creepy, super stalkery, and just overall weird with the woman at the campaign. So it's like he did good things, but like at his core, that he had a lot of bad and fucked up with him.
Oh yeah.
So
big time.
I will say too, to go back on your point, Rico, I want to touch on about how you didn't really know how we got there. We wanted flashbacks to Vietnam. I liked that they didn't spell it out for us. Like we knew,
cool.
we knew just enough. You know, he's a veteran. He can't sleep, so he's like an insomniac. And I think that's the real life where I go back to, like, at that time, you know, going to the porno theaters or just driving a cab. Like, that doesn't seem that far out there for someone who lives that lifestyle, right? Like, it makes sense. Like, those are the kind of people that unfortunately kind of have this mental state, maybe. I could be wrong. I don't know.
No, I think you're right.
Yeah. So some other notes that I didn't realize, you know, John Hinckley Jr., you guys saw that blurb about him?
No.
Oh yes, the attempted assassination
yeah.
on Reagan.
Yes. So this was like a big inspiration. He was Jodie Foster's stalker. Like, he stalked her as well.
And he thought, I think, that she would fall in love with him if he murdered Reagan, was his thought process.
Really?
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, I think listen, I think art gets a tough spot. Like, Robbie, you're obviously familiar with Adam's song.
Yeah, oh yeah. Blink-182.
Yeah, that a kid ended at, like, listened to it on repeat and ended up killing himself, and like Blink-182 had to answer to that. Like, I don't know. I mean, I guess if you have dark enough thoughts, you can kind of tie anything to these things. It's just interesting that, like, that's what they decide it was, you know, like, or that's what, like, there was probably a million things that this guy did, and Taxi Driver just, I guess, expedited him. It wasn't, there's no way he saw a Taxi Driver and he wants to do it, and he's a perfectly normal guy working at the fucking soup. You know, like, he's not working Saturday nights at Applebee's being like, hey, Eddie, good to see you. Yeah. And then he's out fucking acting like a whack job. Like, that's, he already was screwed up. So it's, art always has a, you know, Eminem has had to answer to different things like that. Like, I think it's tough. It's a tough spot because people do obviously have screwed up stuff and take a liking to that, and then they associate the two, and now the artist has to answer to it. It's difficult.
Yeah, you're right on that. It's just one of the more mainstream ones, one of the most known ones.
Oh yeah,
because, you know, I'm sure you've seen the video of the attempted assassination. It's crazy. It's crazy.
He shot him, right? He literally hit him.
Oh yeah, he shot him. And then Secret Service jumps in. And the guy, now he's released from prison, actually. A lot of people talk about him now. He plays music, and it's just like a super, you know, odd, eerie, creepy guy. So,
he plays music?
Yeah, he makes music now. Mm-hmm. Yeah, look into him. John Hinckley Jr.
Maybe we could be in a band together. Imagine that.
Would you make a pop punk song with him?
Imagine
like an anti-Reagan pop punk song with a guy who tried to kill him.
Yeah.
Imagine the ammo we would give people for those hippies.
Yeah, I don't think they would like that association.
Ed Hinckley Jr.
It says here too, when Scorsese heard about Hinckley's motivation behind his assassination attempt, he briefly thought about quitting filmmaking as the association brought him a negative perception of the film.
Huh. I mean, I could see that. Yeah.
Imagine no Scorsese though.
Well, I'm glad he didn't quit.
Yeah. Right.
Thank God.
Yeah. Because
how did this do for awards, Eddie?
Well, that's what's interesting too. I'm gonna bring that up. So it got 4 noms at the Academy Awards: Best Picture, Best Actor, De Niro, Best Supporting Actress with Jodie Foster, and Best Original Score, which I did like that.
Yeah, the jazz that just kept coming in. I liked that as well. It was almost hypnotic.
Yes, it was very
calming.
Nominations, no winners. No winners on that.
What beat it on Best Picture? This is always interesting. And what beat De Niro?
Let me check.
Because I don't think Jodie Foster should have won. She was good, 12-year-old, but no way.
Yeah.
Let me see.
76. This would be 76 Best Picture. Was it Rocky?
It was Rocky. It was
Sorry.
Rocky.
Give me those again. It broke up.
It was Rocky was the best picture.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, deservedly so. Listen, I really enjoyed Taxi Driver. I'm a huge Rocky guy. It's my favorite sports movie ever. That is very, very deserved. And then did Stallone beat De Niro?
So Beatrice Straight won for the movie Network. She beat Jodie Foster. And then 1 second, let me pull up.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Let me pull up 76.
I would guess that Stallone won for that movie.
Nope, it was Peter Finch for Network as well. And Stallone and De Niro were both nominated. They both lost.
All right, I haven't seen Network. That's one I'll add to my list.
Yeah, Network. I hope Network's pretty good if they won all that hardware.
I think the Oscars should wait. Oscars should wait a little bit longer on their awards. I know it makes sense. I know Simmons has said that a bunch of times, but like, think about it. Like, right now, looking back, like, how did The Dark Knight not win?
Yeah.
And what are people talking about? You know, like, a movie's got to let it breathe. I don't know. I know that's not what Hollywood wants to hear, because who's going to get gassed up about a movie from 5 years ago? But I don't know. Maybe we do that.
Yeah.
Jeff D-Lo and Robbie and Ken Jack and Eddie. We just have like a real award fucking show.
And
like,
new Oscars, yeah.
10 years in reverse. We'll do the 2013 Oscars.
Yeah.
We did a draft of that a couple weeks ago, like who should have won Oscar snubs with Kirk.
I saw that. Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah, and we talked about Goodfellas losing to Dances with Wolves, and there's a bunch. There's a bunch.
I'm sure you guys touched on it too. There's also there's weird rules where got these fucking people who are so old and out of touch. They'll vote for what they vote for and leave the rest alphabetical. And then the for that, like, are we sure they all watched it? Isn't there a discuss? Like, don't try to sell somebody on why you liked Taxi Driver, but when you come in, like, you
almost should try to sell people on it. That's how the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame does it. Which that's Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is enough politics, and they got a mess of their own. But they have people come in and like basically present and be like, here's why I think so and so should go into the Hall of Fame. Maybe you could do that with the Oscars of like making a case for why the movie should actually win.
Yeah, or even like, how they judge.
Maybe they do. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if they do, Robbie. I think they just submit it and they mail it in, and there's no discussion. They calculate shit. I think it should be like the selection committee. Like, even college football, they vote, they show their top 25 poll, and then they show the variance. So like, I think after a while, like, you should get eliminated if you have, the variance. Or when you come in and it's like, all right, first off, it's ridiculous that 10 films are nominated also. It's stupid.
You don't like the 10? You think too much?
That's a lot. Yeah, I think it should vary, but
I'm okay with the 10, to be honest.
10's a lot.
I feel like every year there's at least 10 that are like A+ movies that should get that recognition.
10's a lot, but like, you should come in and like, if you didn't list what won this year.
Everything everywhere.
Everything everywhere all at once.
So like, if we vote around and like Robbie didn't even have it on his top 20, like, there should be a discussion of like, Robbie, what did I miss? And then maybe, I don't know. It's a discussion. I guess you can't get all the voters in the room, but I just think there should be more of a discussion.
Or something like that. I hear you. My last note here is there was a lot of criticism, a lot of controversy with the rating, and apparently to obtain an R rating, like they wanted to give it an X rating initially because it was considered so graphic, that final scene. Scorsese had to desaturate the colors, and
I heard that.
Showed less blood, and
it was still pretty bad. I read that.
Yeah.
Also, like, I love hearing this too. Like, the first time I watched Warriors, you've seen that obviously, right, Robbie?
The MMA movie Warrior?
No, Warriors from New York City.
Oh no, I haven't. My brother always tells me I gotta watch that.
All right, we'll
come out to play, right? Warriors come out to play.
Yeah, come out to play. So the Warriors was so violent and so crazy. Dude, it's like an episode of I don't even know. Like, it's like network TV now.
Mm-hmm.
So like,
it
was, don't get me wrong, like, it was really, really bad to watch that triple kind of murder, but how many times have you seen that play out 50 times now in an opening scene? I mean, shit, the Joker clips 8 guys in the first scene in Dark Knight. So like, I love when they throw around like X rating, but again, the blood thing to me was weird. When I heard that, I'm like, if I'm going to try and change a movie from X to R, it's going to be eliminate the triple murder. Don't change the blood from red to fuchsia.
Yeah.
That was like,
Yeah. And apparently Scorsese, he was like, I was really happy with it. He thought it made the scene, but then the cinematographer was like, no, I actually regret the decision. And he's upset that there's no prints where you could see the original blood because it's deteriorated like the original film. So interesting.
Yeah, you probably have to digitally correct it, which at that point is like you're doing CGI on it.
Yeah. Overall, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it though.
I enjoyed it as well. Yeah, I really did. After the movie's over, like Rico said, it's not one that I'm going to go back and rewatch and be like, "This is my favorite new movie." It's an experience that you have to go through, but it's a good one to check off the list for sure.
Yeah, I kind of put it like similar to Gone. Like I thought Gone Girl, people are gonna fucking clip this and be like, "What?" Gone Girl is an unbelievable movie too. I'll never rewatch it. You know, like I think that's okay. Like but yeah, it was like weird, bizarre, but like good in the sense too that it didn't take a lot of the shortcuts we were talking about. Like it didn't lay out why he was fucked up. It didn't show the obvious flashback. It didn't do the shrink. It was weird, and again, like that balance to me, it was a balance of something I haven't seen before. He can have normal shit, he can function, but then he's really fucked up, and it's just this pendulum swing of like, which way is he gonna go? And it was really, really interesting to see, and that's Scorsese, you know.
Yeah. I actually think if it was on, I think I'd flip it on. I really do. Like if I saw it on TV, I'd flip it on just to see if you could pick up on more subtle things about his facial expressions, his behavior. I think they're interesting things where it's like, oh, like rather than like watching from afar, I would feel like I'm a little like closer and I would be able to kind of like nitpick a little more on what's going on with him. So I think I'd watch again if it was on. I wouldn't be running back to, watch it again on a streaming service. It was on HBO Max. We watched it on. And then we'll end with this. We'll end these with this. The Rotten Tomatoes score. The critics gave it a 96%. The audience gave it a 93. Let's go audience since we're obviously part of the audience. We're not critics. Is Rico too low, hit the number perfectly, or too high, 93%?
Probably like high 80s, maybe. Like it's definitely like, again, what it inspired. Having watched it now 40 years ago, I don't know if I walked out of the theater, I would have gave it a 93. Is that fair to say?
Like I think I'm with you on that one. Like I actually this year I started doing a thing. Jeff Dilo inspired me. How he has his ratings for every movie. I like that. So I started just in my own notes app doing ratings for the movies that I watch. I do out of 10. For this one, I put in an 8.5 and I felt very good about that. I was like, this was an awesome movie. 93 might feel a bit high 50 years after the fact when we've seen so much and this wasn't as mind-blowing and unique to us, but I don't take issue with a 93. It's close enough where I'm like, all right, I see why it got that score.
Yeah. I rate movies as well, Robbie, and I had it in the 8s. However, I think 93 sounds good to me. It's just right, just given the time. Like you say in the movie
time,
theater,
how much it influenced, inspired, all of that, yeah.
Yeah, I think 93 sounds right because this was probably very groundbreaking in 76. So I liked
Definitely.
it.
I mean, if you walked out of this in 76, you were probably like actually disturbed. You might need that Jodie Foster, therapy.
Yeah, I would agree. So given that it's a little bit of a weird score from all of us, I think, because we're watching it in 2023. But
I'll say out of those three, out of too high, not high enough, or just right, I would actually say just right.
Yeah.
I would say that's in the range where it's close enough. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too. And I also I didn't realize the Joker comparisons before that. I didn't know that. Pretty cool callback that he's the late night show host too. So
exactly.
Now I like that casting decision even more.
Yeah.
But all right, guys.
Wait, what do you mean? Who's the late night show?
De Niro.
Yes.
Makes it even cooler to me. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the King of Comedy is supposed to be on there. There's another De Niro that's like 4 hours long. My dad was watching one day, and I was like, "What's this?" Seems like it's iconic. It's Once Upon a Time in America. Have you heard about that?
I have heard of it. Yeah, very iconic.
That's a commit. It's like 4 hours. Raging Bull. Like there's a lot of stuff that you hear about, but you if you don't have the time, and again, like it's the same thing. So like, I don't know. It's so much easier to go see Top Gun Maverick. You talked about the rewatchable stuff. Like you got to go see that because when you walk, I don't know, you want to walk out of a movie feeling good. Like I feel like a lot of these movies aren't made like this too. Like I was dying to see Manchester by the Sea because I love Casey Affleck, and I was like, all right, and like man, like that's a tough watch too. Like I think
Yeah,
these
it is.
niche type movies don't really let you. They're not being made anymore, and there's not a lot of like you're not dying to go see it. So it's good to pop back into that every once in a while and like have something that is not just a cookie cutter type movie.
No,
And this
for
was
sure.
not
For
cookie
sure. And
cutter.
that's why this is not this is not going to be a rewatchable segment. This is more for a group of, a company that skews towards 20s and 30s, like of movies they've never seen, So that's the goal here. I'm going to be looking around and finding people a mutual movie that I haven't seen, they haven't seen. Maybe it would be good to get someone who has seen it too to give some of the facts like we didn't, kind of get into. But I will say I did enjoy this first crew. This was fun chopping up with you guys.
Yeah,
This
I
was
think
great.
you should expand on it, Eddie. Like I'm saying, like I think you'd like this. Maybe it's a different series or whatever. But like doing a home and home now, or now you got a 3-parter. So like Robbie brings something, I bring something, and again, it's like almost like a virtual book club. Like everybody bringing their own type of thing, or playing to the element. I think there's a lot of things that people don't realize me and Robbie overlap with. And like.
Yep.
I think it's a short list, but like you can find a lot of that common ground with people. So, and especially movies, like, or, oh my God, like you like that, you know what I mean? So like, I think there's a ton of stuff people haven't seen. There's a ton of like niche stuff, so it definitely can work, Eddie. I'm excited if it's an ongoing series.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. I mean, this is a good crew. We'll definitely run it back at some point. All right, boys. Thank you. Thanks for hopping on. Robbie, anything coming out soon?
No, not really. My mom's basement. We're doing Mando recaps as always.
Okay, Bosco, you'll be on the streams this weekend?
No, they're in LaBerge. I think I'll be at radio
Okay.
tomorrow and Saturday. I'll probably stop in, try to get some coaches' numbers,
Hell yeah.
Pad
There
the
we
phone.
go.
So
There we go. All right, that's the first one, everybody. Thank you for listening. Taxi Driver. We all enjoyed it, so go check it out. And I should note that tomorrow we do have a Chicago Friday coming for you. It's going to be with former Illinois Governor Rod Blagojevich, obviously very popular, very famous name. Did an 8-year stint in prison. So look out for that. Chicago Friday. We got an episode with Rod Blagojevich. I got to tell you, it was very, very, very interesting. I really enjoyed the sit down. So tune in for that. Thank you guys for tuning into this. Let me know if you guys enjoyed this. Let me know, if we'll keep doing these. We'll make it a regular segment, mixing it in here and there. So that's it. That's the first time classic movie watch. See you guys tomorrow.